Dead or alive, you're coming with me, bitch.
I fucking love that guy!
Guys, my overall verdict on this game has gone back and forth more times than bloody Wimbledon season. I've spent over 34 hours in this game at the time of recording, and I can tell you that on the one hand, this has got to be the best RoboCop experience you're ever likely to play. Polish developer Teyon, who had previously worked on titles such as the less than inspiring Rambo the video game, as well as the more recent Terminator Resistance, have cracked this one with more success by far in comparison. If you ever wanted to feel like RoboCop, Teyon's AA game will more than certainly give that to you. However, on the other hand, I honestly feel that the game doesn't quite reach the heights that it could, given perhaps more time in the oven and a bit more funding to boot. With frequent graphical errors, some less than engaging moments, and probably more bugs than a fucking ant farm, RoboCop Rogue City is a bit of a mixed bag. I should state at this point that I am a RoboCop fan. I grew up watching the movies as well as the live-action TV show that only aired for one season. I played the old-school video games back in the day. I just loved the characters, the action, the ultra-violence of course, the humour, and I've recited quotes from the movies more times than I can count.
Hey handsome, we're here for the show! Go get him, Robo!
Bitches leave.
But I wouldn't necessarily call myself a die-hard Robo fan as such, but I certainly appreciated the existence of one of the most badass and inspiring characters to ever grace the big and small screens. I think it's important for you guys to know this going forward, so you know where I'm coming from.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
So then, how does it feel to be put into the mechanical shoes of Alex Murphy? How does the story hold up, and how well does the overall atmosphere bring it all together? In the words of the man himself,
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
RoboCop Rogue City features an entirely fresh narrative that takes place between the events of RoboCops 2 and 3, and follows Alex Murphy and his trusted partner Ann Lewis as they encounter a new problem in near-future Detroit. During a live broadcast, a less than inspiring group known as the Torchheads proposed to take over the city with the help of a mysterious benefactor known only as the New Guy.
So what is it, huh? Arson, smuggling, drug dealing, good old-fashioned murder. We do it all. You've got the money, we've got the power. So let's talk.
During a violent raid on the overtaken Channel 9 broadcasting building, RoboCop suffers a malfunction at the worst possible time. Shadows of his past continue to torment him, as well as the tragic events that led him to his current circumstance. This unfortunate situation is captured by Samantha Ortiz, an investigative reporter who wants to expose the mega corporation Omni Consumer Products, or OCP, and their supposed shady dealings to the world. And that includes any dirt on their one-man law enforcement creation, RoboCop.
Does it really know right from wrong?
Listen, I would trust this guy with my kids. I mean, if I had any.
It's not long at all until RoboCop is back out in the streets, trying to find the whereabouts of Soot, the leader of the Torchhead gang and the only real lead on the New Guy in town. But further on, Robo will have to deal with conspiracies and revelations that will alter the fate of Detroit, all the while hoping to find an answer as to whether or not Alex Murphy is truly dead or still very much alive.
My programming does not allow for family life.
No, I guess that was never the intention.
Kuzak allows the city to be taken over by criminals. He can't stop it because he's not a team player. He fails to realize that OCP has given this city its most precious treasure. You.
During my time in Rogue City's story, I was often surprised at how deep the narrative actually went. Now don't get me wrong, the story isn't going to win any awards or anything like that, but I honestly wasn't expecting anything particularly special here. But the narrative makes a habit of actually throwing multiple spanners in the works just when you think you've got it solved. I was also surprised to see some genuine moments of heart and character development too. This isn't just an action adventure with lots and lots of satisfying blood and guts to fulfill our savage needs. Oh no, Detroit has its share of good people too, or people who want to make amends in a bid to clear their less than clean reputation. I found these moments to be an additional welcome, as it gave me a break from feeling like an unmerciful, all-powerful killing machine.
It's not always easy to do the right thing. It takes strength.
And you think my dad has that kind of strength?
Are you kidding me? Your father has enough strength for the both of us. He even helped an ungrateful addict that he found in one of these buildings that smelled of rotting garbage, half dead and covered in vomit. And instead of writing him off, your father opened his home to him because that's the right thing to do. That's strength. Don't you think there's someone else who could use that kind of support now?
Mom.
See, you already know what to do.
Rogue City sees the return of fan-favourite characters too, like feisty Anne Lewis and no-nonsense Warren Reed, but it's only Peter Weller reprising his role as RoboCop here. And even so, it honestly feels like hardly any time has passed since Weller last stepped into the role.
Drop it, scum.
You'll be introduced to a lot of new characters too, like Max Becker, who's probably my favourite addition with his no-holds-barred and old-school approach, as well as fresh-faced rookie cop Ulysses Washington, who just wants to do some good in the city.
Will I still get a badge? Like a proper police officer?
Badge? Oh yeah, sure.
Then Officer Washington is reporting for duty.
Good. There you go, young'un.
Is that blood?
We don't make a badge for every new officer. We just reassign the old ones after cops retire.
Or die.
RoboCop. I'm a big fan.
Now, if you're new to the world of RoboCop, the narrative actually does a decent job filling in a lot of the blanks, but what I love about it is that it still keeps a lot zipped up for you to enjoy should you decide to watch the movies for the first time later on. But make no mistake, Rogue City's story will undoubtedly please the already existing Robo fan far more in comparison. With the series' signature dark humour, tongue-in-cheek moments and callbacks to the original movies, there's little chance Rogue City won't get a genuine, positive reaction out of you, current fan or not. Well, unless you're a brittle snowflake or completely dead inside, of course.
All in favor of kicking this guy's ass? Aye! Aye! Nay?
Now then, if there's one thing RoboCop Rogue City does better than anything else, it's making you feel like the man himself. And the game does this in multiple ways. Firstly, and I'm just going to come out and say this, even if it makes me look like a complete and total dork, I spent 99% of this game walking from point A to B. That's not a joke. When was the last time you saw RoboCop run, or even walk at a fast pace? It hardly ever happens. I absolutely appreciate the run function, but if I'm going to truly make the most out of the best RoboCop game to ever exist, you better believe I'm role-playing the fuck out of this shit. If I personally had been running everywhere, I honestly don't think I would have enjoyed the experience as much. Robo's iconic footsteps never outstayed their welcome. Throughout Rogue City's multiple locations, you really do feel like you're inside the heavy metal. And it's a constant reminder that you're more than capable of soaking up a barrage of bullets as you walk towards your enemies with total empowerment. Speaking of which... Holy moly, does it feel great reducing criminal slime to nothing more but red mist and pieces of bloody pulp, especially with that iconic and epic RoboCop theme playing in the background. It's been a long time since I was this satisfied in a first-person shooter. The gunplay in Rogue City is close to exceptional. Every kill feels fucking satisfying, I won't lie. Wielding Robo's signature Auto 9 3-round burst criminal reducer, as well as the assortment of explosives and additional weapons either dropped by thugs or scattered about the environment, although admittedly when it comes to the available firearms in the game I only really ever use the Auto 9 throughout the majority of my main playthrough, feels so good it never really outstayed its welcome. You can even punch enemies into non-existence or grab them as a human shield before chucking them away altogether. In a lot of cases this can be just as satisfying as the gunplay, and what I love on top of all of this are the death animations, and in some cases are quite comical too. There's even a trophy for killing an enemy by shooting off his dick. Yeah, just like the first movie.
Your move, creep.
It's okay!
The only time the gunplay really outstayed its welcome was during the third main mission, where it focuses purely on shooting and hardly anything else. It's a really long-winded mission, and it got so bad to the point I genuinely considered dropping the game altogether. But this only happens a couple of times throughout the whole game if I'm honest, at least from my experience. There are also moments where you're just walking about when a simple cutscene would have paced the game far better. Apart from these particular negative spots, Rogue City will keep you somewhat engaged elsewhere by having you solve crime scenes, investigating leads, issuing tickets and engaging with the people of Detroit with multiple dialogue options, which is a nice touch. Do you want to be a no-nonsense law enforcement officer, or perhaps you want the approval of the people instead? The choice is yours.
You are being fined $100 for the violation that you have committed.
Are you crazy? I don't work. How am I supposed to pay for this?
Failing to pay may result in serious consequences for your guardians. It is my duty to warn you not to commit that, or any violation again.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'll do my best not to get caught again.
Just be mindful that some of your decision making will make a small difference later on in the game. But a lot of the time when it comes to investigations and crime scenes, it's just walk, click and hold a button to scan, follow the marker, click and hold a button to scan, job done. It's not entirely engaging if I'm honest. You don't really need to use your brain, save for a few times where the game chucks in the odd puzzle. But I appreciate how this all helps to space everything out nicely, and it does an okay job overall.
Somebody dumped her a few feet from here. The blood traces on the ground indicate she was dragged. Nasty wound. Looks like she was hit with a blunt object, possibly a hammer. That's this green-blue shit under her arm. No idea what it might be.
Bosses are very few and far between in Rogue City, but there are some exciting battles that are worth the wait. No spoilers of course, but suffice to say you shouldn't go into this game expecting a regular boss fight in between missions. And unfortunately these bosses for the large part can be cheesed out. It's just a case of finding a spot in the environment and unloading on them, and that's it. So you're not going to be using your brain with these ones. Now, there are two ways to upgrade in Rogue City, RoboCop himself and his weapon. As you complete missions, side objectives and collect the vast amounts of nuke, stolen purses and the odd document which, for the large majority, are actually interesting and sometimes hilarious reads, you obtain XP to level up, as well as motherboards to upgrade your weapon, which range from a full auto function to even more gore in the game, my personal favourites. Your unlockable robo skills include what you'd expect: increased armor, more damage, an additional shield, a boost function and such. And it's unlikely you'll max out all categories on your first playthrough, which is actually a good thing. You kind of have to think a bit carefully about what you really want on your playthrough. But there are some skills which turn you into an absolutely unstoppable killing machine, such as the ability to ricochet bullets back to your enemies. While at first this was a real joy to have, it wasn't long before I realised just how easy and somewhat broken it makes the overall experience.
Blast!
See, just fucking got killed by that ricochet. I'm just gonna stand here. It makes it too easy, doesn't it?
You did it!
Now, unfortunately, Rogue City is subject to quite a few gameplay glitches and bugs, some of which will require you to start from either your last load or checkpoint. While most are admittedly on the comical side, what isn't funny is how frequent these instances can become. Whether it's a continuous NPC animation, or flat out falling through the fucking floor into a continuous space of nothingness, be prepared to restart your game from time to time. It's a bit of a bastard. Overall, Rogue City's gameplay reminded me somewhat of a less functioning Deus Ex game. It's got just enough to keep you engaged, but there are plenty of moments of emptiness elsewhere where you may find yourself thinking about what to do for dinner tomorrow. If your attention span isn't quite that short, you may enjoy it that little bit more, but I personally found the overall gaming experience to be mostly satisfying. My first full playthrough took me around about 16 hours. Now, had I been running 90% of the time, I'd probably be looking at about a 13-hour playthrough. Is that enough time for a somewhat linear yet slightly open world RoboCop game? For me, yes. The game ends just before it outstays its welcome. There is now a new Game Plus which was recently added where you can continue with your already unlocked upgrades as well as explore other dialogue options you didn't choose previously. There is more than one ending, but you're not looking at anything too significant here.
He's bluffing, Freddy.
6.
You're such a chicken shit. I don't want to find out.
5. 4.
So I'm guessing you're ready for round 2?
I am going for a knockout.
Wrapping up Rogue City's story and gameplay is its often contradictory presentation and atmosphere. Characters and objects generally look and act quite dated in Rogue City, while the environments tend to look much better, almost to the point of photorealistic in some cases, especially when coupled with those finer details such as reflections in puddles or the lighting bouncing off a brick wall. It becomes even more apparent the more you venture into the game, such as daytime Detroit. For the first time ever since owning a PS5, I decided to forego performance mode on my first entire playthrough, and opted instead to try out the game's fidelity options, which is what you've been watching for the majority of this review. However, what I found in abundance in this mode were graphical errors and bugs which weren't as present in performance mode, which is what I went with for my second playthrough. Grabbing and throwing an enemy in a compact room, for example, made them completely disappear in fidelity mode, and aside from the constant drops in frame rates, which obviously one should expect, it gets ridiculous at times when you're surrounded by either a lot of detailed objects or when there's smoke or fire in your immediate vicinity. Even starting the game off, the beginning cutscene even fucked up by showing me nothing but black when there's supposed to be images appearing on screen, and the quick flashes of fuzziness between shots, which you must have noticed by now, was a constant distraction. Character models look dated, as I've mentioned, as do their animations and lip syncing, but they're certainly not all bad. It was nothing I found myself worrying about constantly at all. It's just a little distracting, and just confuses me when I see an almost photorealistic setting with what looks like high-end PS3 models. And RoboCop also changes height throughout the game. It's weird. In one instance he's just a little taller than Lewis, and in another he'll be like 6'3". I don't know what's going on here, but boy did it make me watch out for these changes throughout the game. Again, kind of made things a little distracting. Rerunning the game in performance mode gave me a much smoother experience. I hardly noticed any dips in frame rates, and the downgrade in graphics was hardly noticeable if I'm being honest. I think the game shines best in terms of presentation and atmosphere with regards to its sound design, especially those gunfights. My god guys, Robo's Auto 9 really does sound amazing. I've already talked about this before, but it really does. Nothing but heavy hitting bullets and the satisfying spluttering as your ammo batters into your enemies. But even the smaller details, like collecting XP with that digital cue, sounds really satisfying. There's not a lot of music in Rogue City, and what there is often repeated throughout the game. While tracks generally tend not to outstay their welcome, I can't say the same for the Torchheads and Vulture themes, especially the former, which will more than likely refuse to leave your brain. They're both really catchy tunes, they're alright, you know, but Christ do they play them just a little too often. If there's one thing that's unquestionable, it's that Rogue City was made with an absolute passion, and the developers should be proud of themselves on that front. However, with a dodgy mix of satisfying gunplay and slightly less than inspired gameplay elsewhere, along with the inconsistencies in presentation and atmosphere, I just can't bring myself to rate this game higher than a more than capable 7 out of 10. It just misses the mark for me. Now, should the developers venture into a potential sequel, and quite frankly I think they should, ideas could include a more involving crime-solving mechanic, more ways to take down enemies such as behind walls, as well as perhaps having us control another character, which, aside from freshening up the gameplay from time to time, would allow for stealth segments, a more planned approach to gunplay, or even just the opportunity to allow us to see RoboCop from another perspective. Either way, I would encourage anyone, fan or otherwise, to experience RoboCop Rogue City, especially now with a new Game Plus function, even if it does make you an unstoppable force. It's worth going through at least once in your life. Just try to get through that third mission and you'll be good. Please like this review if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to EBT for more content like this in the future. Check out my other game reviews like the one on screen right now, and until the next video, I will see you all very soon.
I want to drive a 6000 SUX.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'll buy that for $1.